say that what we're going to show you today is an overview of pathways to graduation, and everything is subject to change according to MSDE. So next year they may say, well, no, now you have to do this. But as of today, this is what I know to be factual. Okay? All right. So the outcomes. By the end of this presentation, we are hoping that you have a basic understanding of the pathways to graduation. I do this every day, and there's still times I have to go back and go, okay, do I have that right? So basic understanding. A basic understanding of the educational programming for a student who attends Carroll County Public Schools in these pathways to graduation. And then a basic understanding of what opportunities could be available for students who earn either a Maryland high school diploma or a Maryland certificate of completion. Okay, so I'm gonna start with graduation requirements for a high school diploma. All of this information is found in our program of studies for those graduation requirements and the pathways that students can choose to follow. The basics are listed here. There are 25 minimum credits. The state of Maryland is 21. Carroll County requires 25. The additional ones are the half credit in financial literacy and some of the elective courses. So that's how we get the additional 4 credits above what the state of Maryland requires. Students can earn, if they get a score of 3 or higher in AP Seminar and AP Research, they can receive the AP Seminar Research Certificate. But they have to score a 3 or higher on the AP exam, and they have to take both those courses. They can also earn a AP Capstone Diploma if they, yes, get the 3 in the AP Seminar and the AP Research, but they also have to pass 4 additional AP assessments with a 3 or better to get the capstone, just so that people are aware of that. All right, service learning, student service learning, 75 hours, mandatory. Some courses do offer service learning hours. Some courses don't. There are additional things that students have to do. In the program of studies, it goes through, if you take this course and you do X, Y, and Z, you could earn 15 service hours. Service hours has never been a reason for a kid not to graduate. You have to have 55 service hours to be considered a senior. So I have a few students out there who have 50 and they wonder why they're not a senior, and they're supposed to be a senior. Is like, you got to get 5 more hours somehow. And we work on that. And then how you can get those service hours are all found on the Carroll County website. High school assessment requirements. So, and a couple of these are changing depending on the graduation year. So for Algebra 1, any student taking the Algebra 1 course has to take the Algebra 1 MCAT. So if they're in the course, at the end of the course, so for high school, we run on a 4-mod day, 2 semesters. So they have 4 classes in the fall, 4 classes in the spring. If they're enrolled in Algebra 1 prior to the end of that course, whether it's January or May, they will sit for the MCAT as part of the course. As of right now, they only have to participate and they have to pass the Algebra 1 course. For English 10, any student taking English 10 or English 10 AP Seminar is required to participate in the MCAT. Again, whether that's in January or May, depending on when you take your English 10, and they have to pass the course. So that's when they're assessed, where in grades 3 through 8, they're assessed every year in MCAT. In high school, it's when they take these courses. Life Science Maryland Integrated Assessment. For students graduating this year or next year, they are required to participate in the assessment. That is it. Okay? They don't take the assessment until they finish the 3 science courses. The 3 science courses are chemistry of life or earth space science, biology, and conceptual physics. And they usually take it after the biology, because biology is the last one that they take. They usually take conceptual physics and then chemistry of earth space science and then biology, and then they sit for the assessment. So for the kids graduating this year and next year, they only have to participate. For kids graduating in the class of 27 and beyond, they are required to take an assessment as an end-of-year course exam. So when they take biology, it's an end-of-year course exam that's worth 20% of the grade. So that's what it'll be for the graduating class from 27 on. For government, for 25 and 26, they take the government, the kids in government or AP government will take, are required to participate. That's it. Just sit in the class, sit in the assessment. You're good. You've met the graduation requirement. For the class of 27 and beyond, they are required to take the MCAP government assessment, and it will be an end of course for government or AP government, and it will be worth 20% of the final grade. So that's the assessments that are required to graduate. Some are participation, some have a little bit of weight to them. All right, this is new under Blueprint. The college and career readiness determination. So Blueprint for Maryland's Future requires that each student be assessed no later than 10th grade to determine whether the student has met the CCR, the College and Career Readiness Standard, that has been set by the State Board of Ed. So in January 23 of 2024, so a year ago, the Maryland Board of Education adopted 2 options for students to meet the CCR requirements under Blueprint. Option number 1, the students have to score proficient or above on the ELA, the English Language Arts, MCAP, and the Algebra 1 MCAP. So a 3 or better on those 2 MCAPs. Okay? They meet CCR. Option number 2, they earn a high school unweighted GPA of a 3.0. And they earn an A, B, or C in Algebra 1, or they score proficient or above on the Algebra 1 MCAP. So there's 2 options to get you to CCR. And that is decided in the 10th grade year. In the 9th grade year, at the end, you have to have passed 5 out of 6 courses, core courses. So your English, Math, Science, Social Studies, or a letter will come out that says you may not be CCR. But the decision for CCR is made in 10th grade. Okay, so endorsements. There's certain endorsements that a high school diploma student can earn. An endorsement is a recognition that's added to the diploma, the transcript, that or a certificate that signifies a completion of specialized coursework or achievement in an area of study. So for a diploma-bound student, they can earn the career and technology education. Option number 1 for that is complete 2 or more courses in the same program and earn an industry-recognized credential. Option number 2 for the career and technology is complete the high school level of an apprenticeship. So there's 2 options to earn that endorsement. For the college and career ready endorsement, option 1 is for proficient or above in ELA, MCAP, or the Algebra 1, like I just talked about, or earn a GPA of a 3.0 and an ABC in Algebra 1, or get a proficient score on the Algebra 1. Then you can get an endorsement that you are CCR. So there are 2 endorsements that way. All right, so what do I do when I get that high school diploma? The game of life begins. They can enter the world of work. Okay, they can go leave high school, they have a high school diploma, they can go get a job, be able to pay for their own way in life now. They can go in the military. Another option. They can enter college. They can go to trade schools. So it opens a couple of doors. They have to decide which way they want to go. All right, so the other pathway is the Maryland Certificate of Program Completion. It's a mouthful, okay? So to enter into this pathway, you have to meet certain eligibility criteria that MSD has set up, and we use the alternate Appendix A participation and criteria checklist to determine if the student meets eligibility for the alternate framework. That includes instruction and assessment. Okay, if they don't qualify through that appendix, then program of completion is not a pathway for that student. That checklist, that Appendix A, alternate Appendix A, has to be done annually at every IEP meeting, the annual IEP meeting. It requires parent and guardian consent. So parent and guardians have to give us consent for the student to participate in alternate instruction that is aligned to the alternate academic achievement standards, which are part of the Maryland College and Career Readiness Standards. It's what we call the essential skills in the Maryland College and Career Readiness Standards, and for them to participate in alternate assessments. Alternate assessments for high school as part of the program of studies or the program of completion is done typically one time in high school, typically in 11th grade. If a student is placed on the program of, or the certificate of program completion prior to high school, they take it grades 3 through 8, depending on when they went on. One time in high school. Okay, the alternate academic framework is, as I said before, alternate academic or alternate assessments and instruction that align to the alternate academic achievement standards. The alternate assessment is aligned to alternate academic achievement standards that are reduced in breadth and depth and complexity that we require all students to master. So I said they are part of the College and Career Readiness Standards. Here's what we expect a diploma-bound student to master to earn that diploma. That is reduced in breadth, depth, and complexity for our students who are working on the alternate achievement standards. It is designed for a very small number of students with the most significant cognitive disabilities who cannot demonstrate learning on standard assessments, even with accommodations and supports. And, you know, we have to give them the opportunity to take the general assessments to see if with accommodations they can or cannot achieve with accommodations and support. These students will not meet the requirements of a high school diploma. Requirements to earn a Maryland Certificate of Program Completion. It is not you went to school till you were 21, or you went to school for 4 years past 8th grade. There are requirements that MSD has laid out. You have to receive instruction on the alternate achievement standards, the alternate academic achievement standards. We are required to teach kids. Participate in the alternate achievement, academic achievement assessment. So how much did you learn while we were teaching you this? 75 service learning hours. Attend school 4 years past 8th grade, or the age equivalent of that. And the IEP team will determine when you exit, whether that is 4 years past 8th grade, when you're 19, 20, or 21, are you ready to enter the world of work? And can you act responsibly as a citizen? And can you enjoy a fulfilling life? The IEP team looks at that based on individual students and what entering the world of work will look like for that student. What does acting responsible as a citizen look like for that student? And enjoying a fulfilling life. Okay? All right.
So of course, since our diploma-bound students can earn an endorsement, now our students who are earning a certificate have the opportunity to earn up to 3 endorsements. One is in post-secondary education, one is in career and work readiness, and the other one is in citizenship and community. So these are things that there is a lovely 38-page rubric that MSD has given us. Some of you, if you have students who are working towards a certificate, may have seen that already. This is brand new to us this school year. So this year, MSD's focus is only on students who are exiting this year. The focus next year will only be on students exiting. But after that, it will be starting at age 14. So in annual IEP team meetings, we will be discussing those endorsements, kind of talking about where do we see that the student might work. Do we want 1? Do we want 2? Do we want 3? There are different criteria for each of those. I am still learning it. I spent 2 meetings a month learning about it, and each time they give us some new information. So we have not provided a lot of training yet to our staff because I don't want to give them wrong information that they share with you all so that you all are confused. I may be the confused one right now. But what that will entail is in their final year of attendance, we will have to do 3 formal observations of that student focused on some of the endorsement criteria. So there are the 3 main endorsements. There are standards under each endorsement, and under those endorsements under those standards are competencies. So we will be talking about that more as we learn more and everybody's working on them. So just be prepared. You may start hearing about it some next year, but it is something that's brand new. I can tell you that it will appear on students' transcript if they earn that endorsement. The decision as to whether or not they earn an endorsement is going to be based on informal observations of what you see students doing in the classroom. Information from families, because you guys see your students at different points than we do, and you may see some skills that we don't always see because we don't have the ability to do that with students during the school day because our focus is on that instruction piece. It could be that if you have a DDA coordinator of service, that person who's been working with you or a doors counselor who's been working with your student could provide additional information that could help us determine whether or not a student earns that endorsement. So more to come on that. I don't want to overwhelm you with everything, but the MSD does have that rubric available. So if anybody would love some nice reading for one evening, I will be happy to send it to you so that you can start to take a look at it.
All right, so students working towards a Maryland certificate of completion. Maryland does not specify courses that must be completed when they finish their high school career. They are expected to have had a well-rounded course. So we do have alternate classes now as part of our program of studies that covers the core academics as well as special areas. And again, we want to make sure that when the students exit with us, they are ready for a world of work in some fashion, acting responsible, and have a fulfilling life. We do have, they'll participate alternate English, alternate math, alternate science, alternate social studies classes. Again, we are addressing the essential elements in those classes, not the breadth and depth of the English, math, science, and social studies. Students will also have coursework in employability and life skills. And that is where we work on life skills, like being able to manage yourself. What do I do when I go to a job? How should I be prepared for a job? But also some work-based learning opportunities within the high school. So they are doing various jobs throughout the high school. And we try to tie those jobs and their elective courses to their transition plans. So what do they want to do when they get out of high school? What have their vocational assessments told us that they want to do? And we try to give them experiences in that. And then sometimes they find out, yeah, I don't really like that. So it changes kind of what they want to do. So again, it's preparing them for that next step in being able to go either to a post-secondary program or off to whatever the next step is. Students working towards a Maryland high school diploma participate in classes to meet graduation requirements. You saw that whole list of 25 graduating requirements. And they are working on different career paths. Every ninth grader does what we call an educational career plan, where they kind of map out, okay, I'd like to apply to career tech. I want to get in the HVAC program. What are the courses I need to prepare for that? Or I want to do video production. What courses do I have to have as prerequisites before I can go to the career tech? It is very competitive to get into career tech. So I always tell people, starting in ninth grade, the day you enter, everything counts, because they apply for career and tech in December of their 10th grade year. So when they're looking at their attendance, their discipline, their grades, we're looking mostly at that ninth grade year and the first quarter of 10th grade. So I always tell them, come in and show us your best. Students can receive accommodations for college and career readiness standards. The grade level curriculum cannot be modified because they're earning credits. So the state says to earn a credit, they must be able to do this, the bare minimum. That is the lowest we can modify something down to. So we can't modify it below. We typically call it the level 1 foundational level. That is the lowest. That meets graduation requirements, but I can't modify it below that. And they receive their special education services. They are still entitled to their accommodations and modifications, as long as we are not changing the overall course requirements. And we can provide special ed services in and out of gen ed. We have had classes at the high school where English has been done out of gen ed and taught by a special educator. Depends on the student needs, depends on the IEP services, it depends on basically what the student needs. We always try to provide all the services in gen ed because that's where they're going to get the biggest bang for their buck. Anything there?
So Transition Connections Academy is the program that once our students who are working towards a certificate of completion have done 4 years in their comprehensive high school. It's an IEP team decision to determine whether or not a student is going to come to the Transition Connections Academy. So what our program does is we are really working on community-based instruction. We're working on work-based learning, functional skills. So by the time you get to TCA, we are really focused on preparing you for that next step. So they no longer have to worry about an English, a science, a social studies. It's all courses that are related to daily life skills that they're gonna need once they leave us. We collaborate with DOORS, Carroll Community College. We work with McDaniel College, local government office, our own school system offices. So we do a lot of different things with a lot of groups. We have a program right here in Carroll Hospital where our students are here all day. They work for 3 hours a day, 3.5, I think, actually, by the time that they get here, get changed and get on their job sites. They eat lunch here, and then they have an hour of classes. That's just the team or teach program, which is here at the hospital. We have 5 programs right now. We have transition education at McDaniel College. So those students are at McDaniel College taking classes, and they work on the campus of McDaniel. We have the teach program, which is here at the hospital. We have STAC, which is seamless transition at Carroll Community College. Those students are housed at Carroll Community College, where they take classes, work on campus, favorite job of every student that has been there is working with campus safety, because they get to watch cameras and they get to help decide who gets parking tickets. They love it. I have had one student try to convince them to give me a parking ticket, and I just laughed at them and said, then you're paying me this time. We have transition opportunities for personal growth and community integration for transitioning youth. Those two programs have kind of combined this year, and our classroom is located at the Career and Technology Center, which has been a phenomenal experience for us because we've gotten to partner with some of the classes. The carpentry teacher set up a project where each of his students was paired with one of my students in the class, and they built a Wally, the Wally little robot guy. It was a planner. Cutest thing ever, but just to see the students utilizing tools and the students who were in the program be able to explain how to use those tools and explain the steps that they were doing is one of the best experiences that we've seen. So we're trying to really get our students incorporated into some of the things that they're doing at Career and Tech, and then they go out into the community for work-based learning experiences. Those work-based learning experiences, we are all over the place. I have a student who works at Westminster Tire Pro. I have a student who is at, I gotta think of my names, Westminster Elementary and Cranberry Elementary. They work in the food services. I have a student who works at plant operations, where they're pulling the supply orders that are getting sent to the schools. We really try to focus on what the students are interested in. Doesn't always work because trying to find enough volunteer positions for all of our students can get a little daunting, but we always tell the students, just remember, I can tell you, I worked in food service when I was a teenager. The first job that they give you is going and cleaning the bathrooms. You know, there are those tasks that are going to be part of any job that you have, and we try to explain to them that you're not going to walk in and be the boss. You're going to go in and you're going to have to start out here and work your way up. So a lot of really good conversations. Our students, I have one student who was just hired by the school system at one of our middle schools in food service. I have a student who the hospital has already decided, they interviewed and they're hiring him at the time of graduation. So our goal is to really try and find those students who are able to work a job, or those students who maybe they can't handle a paid employment, but they could do a volunteer position. So we try to get them lots of experiences doing that. We're at the senior center where they're supporting the seniors there. So we do a lot of different things. We're always willing to look for what students are interested in. I have a student right now who is very interested in cutting down trees. The school system's not going to let you put him on a job cutting down trees because it's a little dangerous. But we're looking at what are some of the other jobs that somebody who works for a tree service, what might they do? So we're looking for some landscaping things to at least get him in that ballpark. Haven't been successful yet because nobody's hiring landscapers right now. It's a little too cold and icky out there. But we are constantly looking at new ways to do things. So we will look at all options. We've had students that have come to us for part of the day and stayed at their comprehensive school part of the day if we can make that work. Some of that falls into transportation, but we provide the transportation for our students to get to all of the activities that we have. And the other thing that we've added are community-based instruction trips. So those are trips where we're going to local businesses. So for example, our students may go to Lowe's and they have here's your shopping list of things that you need and here's your budget. Okay, now go find them. Do you have enough money to buy everything that's on your shopping list? Okay, well, that's great. What's the most important thing that you need? So we really do those things. We go to restaurants where the students order their food, pay for their food, have to figure out their tip. A very interesting experience because you have students who are like, why do I have to tip them? they waited on me, they did their job. And I'm like, because that's, so trying to explain some of those things to students so that when they're out in the community, that they don't feel like, oh my gosh, what do I do in this situation? So that's our TCA program. We are looking for some new options and things that we could look into. Constantly trying to make changes to how we're addressing things. So, like I said, IEP team decision, and we will do whatever we can to make it work for every student. I will tell you that we are housed. Our home base is Carroll Springs School. So we have the portable outside of Carroll Springs. So that is our transportation hub. There are a lot of transitions in TCA. Our students arrive at 7:30 in the morning, so they get off their bus that they came into school on and literally turn around and get on another bus to go to another location. They're there for a couple hours, and then they might get on another bus to go to whichever location they're going to get on another bus to come back to Carroll Springs to get on their bus to go home. Organized chaos is how I describe it. But the kids thrive with it, and really, like, they'll know their buses and exactly where they're going before I do. So it's really awesome to see, and it's awesome to see them break out of their shells, and we really work with them on asking for help, being as independent as possible, and all of those things that we know that are going to help them be successful when they leave us. So a student who earns a certificate of program completion, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that it is the exact same thing as a high school diploma. It's not looked at quite the same when you are talking to employers. So that is one thing to consider, but it doesn't mean that our students aren't able to get jobs. They are able to take non-credit courses at Carroll Community College. They are able to attend an inclusive post-secondary education program. So those are programs that a lot of colleges have created just for students with intellectual disabilities, and they could be 2 or 4 year programs where they're working on a lot of the functional skills and work-based learning skills. One of the closest ones to us that's a big college is University of Maryland Terp Succeed. That program they are housed on University of Maryland's campus. Students live on campus in the dorms. They participate in student life. They are auditing classes. Some students take them for credit if they're able to. It does require that they're paying room and board and tuition, and then they work on campus. So they had a student who graduated last year that his job that they got for him was working with the equipment managers for the University of Maryland football team. That young man traveled to every single away game, including the bowl game with the team. So they really do a lot of great things for those students. There are many, many programs. Think College is a website that you can go on and search all the different programs that are around. Our own programs are listed there, but they're identified as just for students that are in the public school system. They can enter the world of work, whether that's supported employment, and supported employment means that they have a job coach with them a lot of the time, or part of their DDA plan after they graduate, that family and the student and their community resource provider has created outlines that they need these supports for employment. They could have gainful employment, which is paid employment opportunities. Lots of volunteer opportunities as well. They do have the opportunity that they could go ahead and decide, you know what, I really think I could do this. And they might look at doing the GED program, or there is a national external diploma program. I will tell you that the external diploma is not offered at Carroll Community College any longer, but it is offered at Baltimore County Community College, and I believe Frederick Community College would be the 2 closest to us. Both of those do require an assessment, and I don't know if anybody has looked at the GED assessment. It has gotten much more difficult. The last time I talked to them, which was about a year ago, they're recommending a student be able to read and do math at about a 10th to 11th grade level for that assessment. So it is difficult, but you can participate in courses. Our own workforce development has courses that students can take that help prepare for that. Also, the Literacy Council has courses that prepare students to take those assessments. And then they are able to participate in workforce trainings for careers that don't require a high school diploma. So a lot of those are programs that Carroll Community College offers, that they can sign up for those courses and they can earn certificates that will help them be prepared for a job.
Okay. You want to do this one?
Sure.
All right.
So students who are working towards a certificate of completion, and even students who are diploma bound, can apply to a lot of different adult agencies who provide supports. So some of them are our Division of Rehabilitation Services, or DOORS. DOORS is typically short-term funding focused on employment. So what they do when you have an adult case is they will work with you. They will help you figure out what kind of job you want. They could get you that job. They could provide job coaching. But their goal is to have you be independent and successful in that job, and then they're going to step back out. And at that point, they're hoping that you're going to be very successful. You can go back to DOORS if something happens and say, hey, this isn't working. Can you step back in and help us figure out what we need? You can go back to DOORS multiple times. There is the Developmental Disabilities Administration, or DDA. That is your long-term funding source for supports and services for that young adult after they graduate high school. That's where you're going to get your employment type things, your what they call personal supports, which is for those social interactions and activities. But that is probably the most important one for those students, to make sure that you apply for those DDA services prior to 18, because after 18 it is much harder to get those services for that young adult. We'll also put a plug in here while I'm talking about 18. If they don't have a Maryland state ID, I recommend that you get that before they turn 18, because before 18, they will take information and mail that comes to families, whereas once they are 18 or older, they have to have their own, the mail has to come addressed to them, and it has to be from a school or a major business. And a lot of times our students aren't getting that. I would also, Tammy's presentations on the legal thing, on legal implications and financial implications are big things that I would recommend that you look at, because we had a student this, I guess it was last year, first time mom experienced it. He is on the spectrum, and she called to, like she normally would, to get some behavioral supports for him. She called the first time they talked to her. When she called back to set up the actual appointment, they were like, sorry, we can't talk to you. We have to talk to your student. She said, well, okay, you can talk to him, but you're not going to get, so mom had to get it to a point where she could get him to say, please talk to my mom, or sign a document for that. So those are some of the things that you want to start thinking about as your child gets older. Those decision-making things are huge. Doctor's offices may say, oh, I have to talk to them, not you. So,
and that can start when they're 16.
It can. It can. Most of the time they will wait until after 18, but it can get a little dicey. I'm not here to say you should get guardianship, you should get limited guardianship. Those are decisions that families need to make. And they're tough decisions, and they're expensive decisions sometimes. But there are different things that are out there that legal presentation shares. I think I have watched that legal presentation about 15 times, and every time I learn something new. So I recommend that one as something to look at.
There'll also be people at the fair.
Yes. There's the Behavioral Health Administration. That is going to be for your students who need more behavioral interventions or mental health therapies. They typically only work with, for us, when students are in school and adults, is if they have medical assistance. Something else to think about is once they turn 18, your student is eligible to apply for medical assistance and SSI. So those are important things for DDA as they turn 21 and are exiting the school system. The Division of Workforce Development and Adult Learning, the Maryland Department of Labor. I don't think their title could get any longer. For us, it used to be BERC, but it's now Workforce Development. They are located right off of Center Street, right behind East Middle School. They do a lot of things where they provide help with writing resumes, interviewing skills, job searches. They do some education courses and things like that. So they offer a lot of things for our students and young adults. Anybody is eligible to apply for those services. And I said apply because when your student is in school, we are required to provide the supports and services that they need. When they exit the school system and they're looking at those agencies, it's an application process and they can say no. So that's why you'll hear me say a lot about independence. And that's because I know that if a student needs one-on-one direct support, it's harder for them to get into an agency. If they can be in a group of 4 with one adult supporting them, it's easier. It's easier for them to get their employees. I'm not saying that they won't accept students who require more supports and services, but it's harder because they are limited in their funding as well. That decision is up to those agencies. I have one student who exited last year that they were planning to go with an agency. They have been through, they interviewed at 3 agencies, were turned down by all 3. So they ended up doing self-directed services. Self-directed services, that's where you as the parent are then kind of taking the lead on writing their plan, submitting it to DDA. You have to work with a broker who helps keep track of the money and what you're doing. And then you're responsible for finding the employees. And that parent and I have talked. That parent has since retired from his real estate business, and he is the one providing all of the supports because he just couldn't find reliable people. So, you know, you're in the same boat as the employer as the rest of us are, as trying to find the people to fill our spots. So just things to think about. DDA, your community service person that you're assigned will help you through that whole process. They're going to talk you through what your next steps are. They're really going to start to do that once they hit like that 3rd, 4th year that they're before they're ready to exit. They are invited. They can be invited to IEP meetings as long as you give us permission. We're able to share and communicate information. They like to come to our IEP meetings because we talk about the work experiences that they've had. We talk about their successes and all of those different things. So it helps them to come up with ideas of what agency might be the best. So you have that DDA person that can help lead you through that. And then what they're going to do after you set up a plan for what you're going to do for that year, it'll be like having an annual IEP meeting. It's just not as many people that have to come together, and it's not as in-depth of a plan, that you'll look at that plan and evaluate it each year, and you can make changes to it. But then if you're looking at going the traditional route for those adult services, that's where you might work with the ARC, Target, Penmar, Spectrum, Bella McCree. There are a lot of agencies out there. We recommend tours with them. And your service coordinator will make sure that you do those tours. But I would look at all of them. I would let anything unturned, just trying to figure out who would have the best fit. If your child has a DOORS case for pre-employment transition services, I recommend that they look at doing the summer youth employment, which gives them, when they do that, they're assigned to some of those adult agencies. Those providers will get the job set up for them, provide supports for them. But the most important part of that is they can do that 3 and 4 times. So that's 3 or 4 times that you get to interview an agency before you're signing on the dotted line with them. So you can kind of get a feel for how were they when we sat down to meet and discuss my child? How did they do with this? You know, how was the support staff that they provided for my child? So it just gives you that opportunity to see what's going on and kind of get an idea of, is that the agency I want to go with? They have turned students down or young adults down. I have some who have gone back later and been able to get those services done with those agencies. There are also agencies in our community that focus on self-directed services. The Difference 217 and Barrier Free are agencies that will provide services to self-directed families who are on self-directed services. And they offer a wide variety of things. They have social things, they have cooking classes, they have vocational things where they have adults out on jobs. So there are a lot of supports and services out there. It's just finding what the best match is for your young adult.